Texas voters tackling taxes in a big Texan way. The message, the Lone Star State is open for business. Lauren Simonetti has the details.
Texans passed all 17 constitutional amendments on the ballot, including the 3 pro-business tax measures. Capital gains taxes, also known as wealth taxes, now permanently banned in Texas. Securities taxes. This was the closest of the measures, but the ban on new taxes on financial transactions still cleared by 10 points. And the prohibition on inheritance taxes passed with flying colors. None of these taxes currently exist in Texas, and now they never can.
I also think what Texas is doing is showing that whereas other states, when they're trying to lure like an Amazon or a Facebook, they give them a temporary tax break or, they give them tax incentives. It's reminding them that Texas doesn't have to do that because we would never charge you taxes anyway. If you come here, the incentives that you are getting from a different state are permanent, and now it's unconstitutional for us to start taxing you.
Texas has attracted more than 200 companies since COVID, and now it's targeting even more. Austin wants newcomers to know there is no future risk to your profits. This as the Texas Stock Exchange prepares to open in Dallas, competing directly with the iconic New York Stock Exchange. Critics warn that the tax bans established by these amendments could limit future revenue for things like infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Meanwhile, states on both coasts are moving in the opposite direction. California is pushing a 5% tax on residents' net worth to pay for the state's Medicaid program. David, back to you.
All right, Lauren Simonetti, thank you very much. Well, from the Lone Star State to the Sunshine State, Florida has also become a beacon of capitalism, luring residents and businesses fleeing far-left policies. Billboards like this one were up in New York City's Times Square promoting low property taxes in Florida's Boca Raton.
We're being focused on the job creators, innovators, and C-suite executives. We don't expect everyone to be able to find a home in Boca Raton, but we expect a number of companies to continue their exodus out of New York City to our great economic climate.
We have the Citadel Tower underway. Ken Griffin has moved his headquarters here. We have a steady influx of business. Fun fact here, the state of Florida now has more AUM, assets under management, than the state of Connecticut for the first time.
And the panel is back with me now. John, you look at the top 2 states gaining people. You were talking about this before. We got Florida and Texas. I think we can put the chart up. A huge increase in Florida and Texas of incoming. And guess what? Both Florida and Texas have 0 income tax. Then you look at the flip side of that, the 2 states losing the most number of people, if we can put that on the board. And guess what? We start with New York and California, the biggest losers of individuals. And also, they happen to have the highest tax rates in America, about 15% on top of everything you pay federal. Is that just a coincidence? People going to states with 0 tax and fleeing states that have high taxes?
It's not a coincidence. People going to where they seek the best deal. The fact is that, like I said to you before, it was New York is $360 billion between state and the city, and for 19 million people in Florida, it's 110. What happens to the other 300 million? I don't know what happens.
Well, you know what happens. It gets absorbed by the bureaucracy. It gets very often a corrupt bureaucracy.
Absolutely. And look, right now, J.P. Morgan built a building for $4 billion, $5 billion, but they got more employees in Texas than they have in New York.
That's crazy.
So what's going to happen? I don't know.
It's a good question. Marcus, there's an old expression in journalism, follow the money. We followed the money that's going into Florida. We got $1 trillion of gross income that has essentially fled to Florida. That's the top line there. They're doing very well. $1 trillion. That red line is New York. That's money leaving New York. $500 billion of maybe aggravated.
They're definitely aggravated.
But accumulated income is leaving the state of New York, and they're running out of money. This is the most in-debt state in the union.
David, before we jump into just Florida, just to reset, there are 9 states where there's no state income tax. And I
don't want to forget Tennessee and the others.
That's right. There's 9 states that are out there. And if we really started to think about this from a business perspective, the states that have a good ground game, that are running an efficient government, that aren't spending money, are able to start to lure people in with other tax incentives. And what's happening in New York is the opposite of that. And when you layer on what's happening with Mamdani, you're essentially saying we're going to add more costs to the government and we're going to take out more revenue from the government. In Florida, in Texas, in all these other states, you're saying we're going to take costs out of the government and we're going to give it back to you.
Yeah.
And that's what's lowering, not the sunshine, by the way.
Alicia,
right?
well, the sunshine also.
sunshine,
The sunshine. Do you see the flaws increasing? These tremendous flows, are they increasing now? And will we see this effect supercharged by the election of Mamdani and perhaps other socialists around the country?
Well, I think you definitely saw it during the pandemic when people were liberated
Absolutely.
to go around and work wherever they wanted. You saw a decline in New York City's population of about 320,000 people between 2020 and 2024. And that's after accounting for the foreign migrants. Now, a lot of the people who were leaving were both families, higher earning workers. Some of them did go to just New Jersey or Connecticut, but a lot of them went to Florida.
Yeah.
And this doesn't just have tax or economic consequences for the state. It also has political consequences.
Absolutely.
The people who were moved to New York are very different than the people who are leaving.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure Mamdani would have won in an election that was held in
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Ina, we began by talking to you about your constituents, a lot of people from the ex-Soviet Union. Are some of them now thinking not going back to Russia, but at least going to other states, even though you have this wonderful community in Brighton Beach and other areas around there where they can be with their fellow Russians?
Oh, absolutely. They're talking about Florida and Texas. They were talking about Jersey, but not so much anymore. Why would they stay here? High taxes, crime, a homelessness problem. When they could go to Florida, make better money, no income tax, better life, clean streets, there's no reason for them to stay here. And I would encourage them to stay here and fight for New York City.
Right,
We're
right.
all New Yorkers. We can get
Don't
through it.
be pushed out.
And we have a really good shot now that Mamdani is mayor to win the governor's race. So we need all those Republicans to not just stay here, but to give us their votes.
Yeah. I don't want to be run out of town. I don't think anybody wants that.
Absolutely not.